Okay. Welcome to everyone this morning. Today we celebrate the fifth Sunday of Easter as we continue our celebration. And in the first reading today, we hear about the creation of the new order of deacon. And the apostles are having some trouble getting everything done. And so they decide to appoint from the community 7 men to serve as what we know today as deacons. Just a little minor point, if you're having new children in your family, you might want to look at the list there and see if there's any names that you could use, like Prochorus or Nicanor. I think that would be nice. Timon or Parmenas. All of those would be wonderful names if you're having quintuplets or something. In the gospel today, Jesus is talking to the disciples, and he says that all you have to do is follow me. And Thomas says to him, Thomas, who was always late, he never got the whole thing, but he says to him, how can we follow you when we don't know the way? And Jesus makes this statement. He says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. Now that's one of those statements that looks nice on the front of a building or on a holy card, right? Maybe on a greeting card. But what does it really mean? And that's the challenge for us today. First of all, it's sequential. It says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. So it begins with the way. So what is the way? And what Jesus is saying to us is this, that the way to the truth is by living consistently through Christ. In other words, challenging ourselves to see to it, to look at the world, not through the eyes of commercialism, not through the eyes of materialism, not through the eyes of anger, or not through the eyes of addiction, but through the eyes of Christ. Is my life consistent with what Jesus teaches? And Jesus' teaching was very simple. There were no great theological dialogues. He said this, love God with your whole heart. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. That's it. And that's our lifelong struggle, to make our lives consistent with the teaching of Jesus. Now, there's a lot of distraction, and we do lose the way. But when we lose the way and we go off into some other direction, we also lose the truth. And we begin thinking that what was right is now wrong, and what was wrong is now right. And we see that all over society today. We see it everywhere, certainly on the television, this whole idea that what we know is inconsistent with Christ all of a sudden becomes right because it's popular. Don't you love it when the pundits say 80% of Catholics do this or do that? Well, you can vote all you want, but Jesus doesn't change, you see. 100% of Catholics could do something, but if it isn't consistent with Christ, it's wrong. And so the challenge for us as individuals is to think about that and to ask ourselves, what's our way? And is my way consistent with Christ? Now, the way that we know this is through our actions and through our words. Do we look like Christ? Do we act like Christ? Do people find in us gentleness, compassion, love, concern, patience? When people come to church here, do they find us letting them in line in the parking lot? Do we find them welcoming us, saying good morning? Do they find Christ alive in our hearts? Is Christ our way? Do we come prepared? Are we ready? Is Christ really the living presence and center of our life? That's a challenge for each of us, to really ask ourselves and to look at our life Last night I had Mass at 10 o'clock for the kids who we have locked up this weekend in the gym. And they're, I guess, I don't know what time they get released. But they were there all night, and we had Mass at 10 o'clock. And they said, well, what's that mean for us? And I said, well, go back over your past week. How nice were you to the bus driver? Did you bother to thank him or her? How pleasant were you to your teachers or your parents? Were you Jesus to them? And so the same challenge is for you. The way is Christ. And the way of Christ is to love one another, to do to others what we would want done to us. And so I used the image. I asked, how many have ever been in a fight? Okay, and only the adults admitted to it. But I said, well, if you've punched someone in the face, ask yourself, would I want that done to me? And of course the answer is no, unless you're sicko, right? Well, do I want someone gossiping about me? The answer is no. Then why do I gossip about others? The way of Christ is our lifelong task. And we must make our actions consistent with what we say we believe. Now, what does that lead to? That leads to the truth. St. John says in another part of the gospel, he says, know the truth, and the truth will set you free. And the only way we come to the truth, because there's a lot of falsity out there. There's a lot of conflicting opinions. Is abortion right or wrong? It's wrong. There's a lot of conflicting opinions. When we leave the way of Christ and seek after convenience or comfort, seek after that which is easy, seek after that which is really a false god. So we need to find the truth. And what does that ultimately lead to? Jesus says life. Now, you say, well, I already have life, I'm living. What Jesus is saying is, I've come to give you life and to give it to you more abundantly. We don't nearly live our lives to the fullest. We spend so much time losing the way that we spend all this energy whining, complaining, being angry, being addicted. We spend all this time doing other things that we really don't live life abundantly. And what Jesus is saying is, follow my way, and I will strip away from you all sinfulness. I will strip away from you everything that saps your energy. And the life that you begin to live now will be a life of new energy, of new life. Now the problem is we don't try it, We're sitting here going, Eaton Park's waiting. We've got to get serious. Jesus says there is no other way, there's only me. So challenge yourselves today and to ask yourself, am I acting like Jesus? Am I sounding like Jesus? Am I doing to others around me what I would want them to do to me? It's that simple. The word that I speak, the action I perform, would I want that done to me? Would I want my husband or my wife to be snapping back at me all the time? Or would I prefer them to be pleasant? See that? There were elbows flying all over the place. Let us do unto others, for in doing that we find the way. And in doing unto others as we would want them to do to us, we come to be like Christ. And in coming to be like Christ, we will find truth, and the truth will lead us to abundant life. Be at peace.